A young woman is stunned to discover that two unfamiliar faces have suddenly appeared in her bathroom mirror. The sight leaves her frozen in shock, but a moment later, to make sure she isn't hallucinating, Elisa calls over her best friend, Olga, to take a look with her. The strange thing is that, no matter how many times Olga checks, all she sees is an ordinary mirror. But from Elisa's perspective, on the other side of the glass, there is clearly a man, holding up his phone and recording everything. And just as clearly, the man can see Elisa and Olga on this side too, yet in the video on his phone, he is the only person on screen. To understand this bizarre encounter, we need to go back a few days. Hoping to build a home with the man she loved, Elisa sets her sights on a spacious, classically styled apartment. To avoid a constant turnover of tenants, the landlord only wants to rent to a married couple. Seeing the crowd of people at the viewing, Elisa realizes she barely stands a chance. Just as she is about to leave in disappointment, a complete stranger suddenly appears. He introduces himself as Elisa's husband, claims he has a steady, respectable job, and assures the agent that the two of them definitely do not have any pets. At first, Elisa assumes this is simply a kind stranger helping her out, so she plays along with Ivan and continues the fake married couple act. What Elisa does not realize is that once the two of them successfully secure the lease, the real conflict begins. It turns out that this man, Ivan, has his eye on the exact same apartment. Naturally, Elisa refuses to give it up, especially because, after all, she is the one holding the signed lease. Neither of them is willing to back down. After a long, tense silence, Ivan finally suggests the simplest and fairest solution: flip a coin to decide who gets the apartment. But this time, even faced with Ivan's last-ditch proposal, Elisa refuses to budge. She immediately splashes a cup of hot coffee over the signed lease, then uses the accident to ask the agent for a fresh copy. By the time Ivan returns looking disheveled, Elisa has already gotten a new lease and officially become the apartment's tenant. What neither of them knows is that this seemingly ordinary fight will bind their lives together for the rest of their lives. On her first night in the new apartment, Elisa is thrilled. She believes she can finally begin a peaceful, cozy life with her boyfriend. Then, without warning, a blast of deafening noise erupts. It sounds as though someone in the building is throwing a huge party that will last all night. Laughter and music mix with the clinking of glasses, making it impossible for Elisa to sleep. Unable to take it anymore, she goes looking for whoever is making the noise. But even after searching every floor, Elisa finds no sign of a party anywhere. The entire building is eerily silent, as though the sounds she just heard were nothing more than an absurd hallucination. Yet the moment she returns to her apartment, the commotion comes rushing back. This time, Elisa follows the sound and slowly enters the bathroom, only to recoil at what she sees. The mirror is not reflecting her at all. Instead, it shows Ivan in another reality, alongside a woman Elisa has never seen before. From that night on, Elisa feels uneasy. Every time she enters the bathroom, she often drapes a blanket over the mirror, afraid that someone on the other side might appear at any moment. Sure enough, a second later, another low, unsettling sound comes from behind the mirror. Elisa forces down her anxiety and inches closer. The person on the other side can see every move she makes through the gap beneath the blanket. Even knowing that, Elisa does not call anyone for help, because she has realized that no one but her can see the figure in the mirror. The strange mirror seems to open only for her. On the other side, Ivan is just as confused. To prove that Elisa is real, he calls his friend Frol over as a witness, but to Frol, the mirror looks completely normal. There is no woman in it, and nothing else seems unusual. After listening to Ivan's serious explanation, Frol assumes he drank too much the night before, and is still hungover. Faced with something so impossible, Elisa nearly falls apart. It feels as though she has suddenly gained an invisible roommate that only she can sense. More absurdly still, this roommate loves partying all night, and treats midnight like the middle of the day. Elisa cannot help wondering whether another world truly exists inside the mirror, or whether she has lost her grip on reality so badly that she can no longer tell fact from fantasy. Desperate to escape it all, she decides to move out immediately, but that plan is opposed by Konstantin, her boyfriend, who works as a psychologist. According to Konstantin, the apartment is in a great location and the rent is already paid, so leaving now would only cost Elisa more. With no better option, Elisa tells the story as though it happened to a friend, to see how Konstantin will react, but he simply offers a calm, clinical analysis. In the end, Under pressure from both practicality and reason, Elisa gives in. If she cannot run from it, she decides to face her fear. During their next encounter, Elisa summons all her courage and speaks directly to the man in the mirror. The impossible phenomenon is beyond anything she can understand. They are clearly standing in the same room, able to watch each other's every movement and hear each other's voices perfectly, yet between them, there seems to be a wall they can never cross. Even more astonishing, the view outside their windows is identical, as if some mysterious force copied reality into two separate versions. At that exact moment, Ivan comes up with a bold theory. On the day they tried to rent the apartment, their heated argument may have accidentally split reality into two completely different branches. In the other timeline, Elisa never threw that decisive cup of coffee. She quietly backed down, allowing Ivan to sign the lease and move into what seemed like an ordinary apartment. From that moment on, the large bathroom mirror became the only link connecting their two realities, and because of it, across two diverging lives, they each meet the person capable of changing everything. One day, while cleaning, Ivan on the other side of the mirror happens to see Konstantin. The psychologist stands in front of the mirror, striking pose after pose to show off his body. His level of vanity is enough to embarrass even the usually confident Ivan. What Ivan does not know is that the real storm is only beginning. While Elisa is still caught up in a romantic moment with Konstantin, the doorbell suddenly rings. The woman who walks in is Yana, Konstantin's wife. It turns out Konstantin was never single at all. Elisa is stunned into silence as Yana angrily demands answers. Konstantin remains disturbingly calm, responding in a chillingly calm voice. Elisa's entire world collapses. She panics and runs into the bathroom. Only then does Elisa realize that the love she gave so completely was a lie from beginning to end. Even more disturbing, Konstantin shows no remorse, and instead turns the blame on Yana, claiming she is upsetting Elisa, whom he coldly calls his patient. The psychologist carefully calculated excuses even make Yana hesitate for a moment, but no matter how polished a lie may be, it always leaves something exposed. When Yana goes into the kitchen for a glass of water, a love note left in the kitchen shatters every one of Konstantin's disguises. Ivan, on the other side of the mirror, witnesses the entire painful scene. That very night, all the pain Elisa has been holding in finally bursts out. She feels herself falling into an abyss, utterly and completely alone. With despair in every breath, only Ivan's voice pulls her back from the edge. Trembling, she crawls out of the bathtub, like a young bird with rain-soaked wings. Fragile and helpless, Ivan on the other side of the mirror stays with her. He quietly keeps talking, slowly drawing Elisa's attention away from the pain. They watch an old Soviet movie together, until Elisa finally drifts off to sleep. The next morning, the doorbell breaks the silence again. Konstantin shamelessly shows up, trying to get Elisa back, but she tells him firmly, "I don't love you anymore." Even as he keeps making excuses and begging her to reconsider, Ivan decides to help Elisa end the relationship for good. He picks up his guitar and starts singing in a way that is a little awkward, but completely sincere. He hopes the song will give Elisa a brief escape from the pain, but Konstantin, still outside the door, refuses to leave. Seeing her trapped in the standoff, Ivan decides to help her take the next step. First, Elisa needs to delete every way Konstantin can contact her. The second step is to leave her old workplace for good. Third, she must change the lock and cut off every path back into her life. As she completes each step, Konstantin's presence truly begins to fade from Elisa's life. She also finds a new job and slowly begins to rebuild herself from the wreckage he left behind. After everything that happened, Elisa and Ivan's relationship quietly begins to change as well. Wanting to repay Ivan for helping her, Elisa starts using the mirror to listen to what the women around Ivan are saying. Ivan, on the other side, then uses Elisa's suggestions to answer them. With her help, Ivan drifts from one undefined relationship to another. He not only manages to win over the women with ease, but also accidentally ends up receiving plenty of favors in return. Then a woman who genuinely cares for Ivan appears and breaks the pattern of shallow relationship. She does not play games or test him. She simply tells him how she feels. When Elisa relays the woman's confession for Ivan to hear, he falls silent. Ivan Ivan does not want to hurt her, but he cannot return her feelings either, so he rejects her honestly. The woman cannot hold back her tears. Ivan immediately becomes flustered, unsure how to comfort her. The truth is, Ivan has never really known how to be emotionally intimate. His carefree flirting is only a shield he uses to protect himself. In an ordinary life, two people as different as Elisa and Ivan might never have crossed paths at all, but fate itself brings them together in the most unexpected way, allowing each of them to see the other's true self, and their worst moments too. Ivan helps Elisa rise from the wreckage of her heartbreak, while Elisa shows him that life offers more than reckless fun and running away. It can also offer peace, and a more honest way to live. They begin healing each other, slowly mending the broken parts of their lives. Little by little, the distance between them stops being only an obstacle, and becomes a strange form of companionship. As the days pass, a new kind of feeling quietly begins to grow inside them both. Then one day, Ivan suggests that Elisa change her hairstyle. As the scissors close, the darkness that has held her for so long seems to be cut away with her hair. Elisa looks lighter and more radiant in the mirror. The two of them cannot stop laughing. All the pressure and sadness seem to have been left behind. Afterward, Ivan tells Elisa that the final step in leaving the past behind is opening herself up to a new relationship. At the time, however, Elisa misses the meaning behind his words, so when Ivan returns to the mirror with wine and 2 glasses, eagerly expecting to share them with her, Elisa is already on a dating app, choosing someone new to meet. She does not notice that the moment she turns away, the light in Ivan's eyes quietly disappears. The day of Elisa's date arrives soon after. The man is not only boastful, but every gesture he makes feels pushy and overly familiar. Just as the situation is about to get out of hand, the Ivan who exists in Elisa's reality suddenly steps in to help her. Even more surprising, he is the version of Ivan who lives in Elisa's world. As far as this Ivan remembers, Elisa is still only the woman who once fought him for the apartment. But when he sees her in trouble, the Ivan from Elisa's world chooses to help anyway. Elisa quickly explains that things are not what he thinks. Maybe fate is deliberately arranging all of this, or perhaps Elisa herself has already fallen for the Ivan beyond the mirror. That may be why, when she is with the Ivan from her own reality, she still feels a sense of familiarity and safety. The more they talk, the more naturally they connect, as if they have known each other for years. Later that night, they turn all of St. Petersburg into their own private playground. They wander aimlessly through the old street, share hot street food, then stop by the river to watch the lights shimmer across the water. The Ivan in Elisa's reality even fashions a small ring by hand, and quietly slips it onto her finger. Neither of them says anything in that moment, but the feeling between them needs no words. By the next morning, neither of them wants to say goodbye. Only after returning to the apartment does Elisa suddenly remember that on the other side of the mirror, another Ivan has been waiting for her. When the Ivan beyond the mirror sees the ring on Elisa's finger, all the hope and happiness inside him immediately sink away. At last, he understands that he has lost to the version of himself in Elisa's reality. The greatest distance in the world is not being separated by miles, it is having the person you love right in front of you, while an uncrossable reality keeps you apart. If they can never move toward a future together, perhaps the only thing left is to learn how to let go. In the days that follow, the Ivan beyond the mirror takes Elisa's advice, seeks out the Elisa in his own reality, and apologizes for fighting her over the apartment. But when Ivan actually gets to know her, he realizes that although the two Elisas share the same face, the same personality, and even the same stubborn look in their eyes, his heart still feels empty. It feels as though he has lost something priceless. Ivan begins to wonder, do we fall in love with someone's appearance and personality, or with the times we cried and laughed together, and the memories that belong to only two people? Meanwhile, in Elisa's reality, she brings the Ivan from her own world back to the apartment. He keeps making ridiculous faces and telling terrible jokes, making her laugh non-stop. They chase each other around like children, and reenact famous scenes from old movies. Their laughter never seems to stop. The whole room fills with their joy. But when the Ivan from Elisa's reality tries to take things further, Elisa instinctively pulls away. Only then does she truly realize that the Ivan standing in front of her is still a flirt who has no intention of settling down. After being rejected, this version of Ivan walks into the bathroom with a dark expression, then secretly starts flirting with another woman by text. What he does not know is that every sneaky move he makes is clearly visible to the Ivan on the other side of the mirror. No one understands Ivan's old patterns better than Ivan himself, afraid that that Elisa will be hurt by the Ivan in her reality. The Ivan beyond the mirror tells her the truth when he sees her disappointment. In doing so, he reopens an old wound. When he was 19, he once loved someone with his whole heart. Back then, Ivan loved deeply and sincerely, building his entire future around that relationship. But real life was never a fairy tale. On the very day Ivan bought a ring and planned to propose, the woman chose a wealthier man who had been pursuing her. From that moment on, Ivan became the playboy everyone now knows. He kept moving through short-lived relationships, refusing any real commitment, refusing to slow down, and refusing to risk his heart again. Only Ivan understands that his carefree, reckless image is simply the armor he built to protect himself. Now Elisa and Ivan, standing on opposite sides of the mirror, both understand that they have truly fallen in love. They have seen each other at their worst, and helped one another through their darkest days. Only at this point, do they know for certain, that the person who has always stayed beside them, through the mirror, is the one they want to hold onto for the rest of their lives. Even though each reality contains another person with the same face and voice, that person is not the one they love. Only the long nights they survived together, and the moments when they gave each other warmth, could create a love that cannot be replaced. From that day forward, the two of them fall completely in love, so they can see each other whenever they want. They place all kinds of mirrors around nearly every corner of the apartment. Although in reality, Elisa and Ivan can never truly touch, their deep emotional bond, and the understanding between them, go far beyond than many couples who are physically together ever achieve. But their peaceful life does not last long. One day, Elisa happens to look into the mirror, and sees Olga in the other reality, beside the version of Elisa who lives in Ivan's world. What hurts even more, is that Olga seems to be trying to bring Ivan and that Elisa together. At that moment, Elisa is forced to face a cruel truth. No matter how deeply they love each other, two people who belong to different realities can never truly be together. The thought overwhelms her, and Elisa cannot contain her disappointment. Dazed, she runs outside, and unconsciously returns to the bar where she once went on a date. Inside the bar, the Ivan from her own reality is smoothly flirting with another young woman. Elisa walks straight over and ruins their date. She tears through every defense Ivan has, and tells him directly that beneath his seemingly carefree, reckless exterior, is a heart that was broken long ago. At the same time, in the reality of the Ivan beyond the mirror, that world's Konstantin unexpectedly appears at the party. In front of the Elisa from that reality, he sweet talks her, acting gentle, attentive, and sincere, but the moment he turns away, Konstantin is affectionate with his wife as though nothing happened. The entire exchange is clearly overheard by the Ivan from that reality. So when Konstantin approaches that world's Elisa again, and resumes his lovesick performance, Ivan finally loses his temper. Right in front of Elisa, he exposes Konstantin for who he really is, yet the man still shows no regret. After the party ends, Ivan asks the Elisa from his reality to stay. He is afraid the sudden truth will send her spiraling all over again, so he deliberately tries to make her laugh, steering the conversation toward lighter things, to lift the darkness hanging over Elisa. Ivan even asks her to dance, but just as the Elisa in Ivan's reality relaxes into his warm embrace, the Elisa on the other side of the mirror sees the entire scene. She does not confront him, and she does not interrupt. She simply closes the bathroom door in silence, but the door cannot hold back the tears and bitterness rising inside her. Ivan knows perfectly well who he truly loved, not wanting the Elisa beyond the mirror to leave with the wrong impression. He immediately runs after her to explain, but the Elisa on the other side is already devastated. After thinking for a long time, she makes the most painful decision of all. Maybe true love was never about possession. Perhaps it means choosing another person's happiness, even when you know the choice will break your own heart. Elisa lifts a heavy decorative object, and smashes the mirror with her own hands, destroying the connection that joined them through so many days and nights. As the glass shatters into pieces, the only line between the two of them is severed completely. Heartbroken, Elisa walks out of the apartment. The night wind is bitterly cold, but even that chill cannot compare to the despair inside her. What she does not know is that the instant the mirror breaks, the cycle linking the two realities suddenly comes to a halt. When Ivan tries to return to the apartment, he is shocked to discover that the lock has somehow been changed. Even a pair of shoes that once belonged to Elisa has inexplicably appeared on the landlord's feet. Ivan suddenly understands what has happened. He races out of the building and runs runs toward the woman he has missed every day and every night. Elisa still does not realize that the man who has just appeared in her reality, and can now truly touch her, is the Ivan who once spoke to her through the mirror. Ivan softly says Elisa's name, then repeats a phrase that only the two of them could understand. By the end of the movie, many viewers may think it is simply a story about parallel realities and a fantasy romance, but what truly touches the heart is not the mirror itself, or even its power to connect two worlds, but the two souls behind it, two people willing to help each other become better versions of themselves. Simply having Elisa in his life heals Ivan's fear of love, and Ivan, in turn, helps Elisa move beyond betrayal and self-doubt. Perhaps each of us carries an invisible mirror inside. On this side are our fears, our regret, and the steps we are afraid to take. On the other side is a braver, gentler, and more complete version of ourselves. May we all one day be brave enough to break down the wall within us, embrace the person worthy of our love, and also embrace the version of ourselves that is always willing to grow for love.